The black limousine sat idling in the grocery store parking lot, its engine purring quietly as rain drummed against the windshield. Henry Richardson, 48 years old with salt and pepper hair, and worry lines etched deep around his eyes, gripped the leather steering wheel with white knuckles. Through the rain-streaked glass, he watched his 4-year-old daughter, Isabella, skip toward the store entrance, her pink dress bright against the gray afternoon. He should have gotten out, should have walked her inside himself, but the phone call from his lawyer had frozen him in place, delivering news that would change everything. The custody hearing had been moved up. Tomorrow morning, Isabella might be taken from him forever. Henry's ex-wife had money, connections, a legal team that painted him as an unfit father, all because of one mistake, one moment of weakness that had cost him his corporate job and his reputation. Now he drove a limousine to make ends meet, fighting a battle he wasn't sure he could win. The rain grew heavier, turning the parking lot into a maze of puddles and rushing water. Through the downpour, Henry lost sight of Isabella's small figure. His heart lurched. Where was she? 27-year-old Mia Sullivan was stacking the last of the day's returns when she heard it, a sound that made every maternal instinct she'd never known she possessed spring to life. A child crying, not the ordinary fuss of a tired toddler, but the desperate wail of someone truly frightened. Mia dropped the canned goods she'd been shelving and hurried toward the automatic doors. Her red polo shirt, wrinkled from a 10-hour shift, clung to her thin frame as she stepped into the storm, the name tag reading Mia. Customer service was already spotted with raindrops there. Huddled against the brick wall beside the entrance was a little girl in a soaked pink dress. Her blonde curls were plastered to her head, and she clutched a white stuffed rabbit against her chest like a lifeline. The child couldn't have been more than 4 years old, and she was completely alone. "Honey, what's wrong?" Mia dropped to her knees without thinking about the puddle soaking through her black work pants. She'd learned long ago that getting down to a child's level made all the difference. Isabella looked up with tear-filled blue eyes. "I can't find my daddy," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the rain. "He was right there, and now he's gone." Mia's heart broke a little. She'd been lost once too, though she'd been older. Lost in a different way, after her own father had walked out. "It's okay, sweetheart. We'll find him. What's your name?" "Isabella. And this is Mr. Bunny." The little girl held up her stuffed rabbit. "It's white for now, gray with rainwater." "Well, Isabella, I'm Mia. And I think Mr. Bunny looks like he needs to get warm and dry, don't you?" Mia smiled gently, the kind of smile she wished someone had given her all those years ago when she'd felt just as lost and alone. Without hesitation, Mia peeled off her light jacket and wrapped it around Isabella's shivering shoulders. It was too big, hanging past the child's knees, but it was dry and warm. "There, better," Isabella nodded solemnly. "Are you going to help me find my daddy?" "Of course I am. But first, let's get you out of this rain." Mia scooped Isabella into her arms, surprised by how natural it felt. She'd never had children of her own, never thought she was the mothering type. Life had taught her to look out for herself first. But something about this little girl's vulnerability touched a place in her heart. She'd kept carefully guarded. From inside the black limousine, Henry watched in amazement as a young woman in a grocery store uniform emerged from the rain like an angel. She knelt beside his daughter without hesitation, wrapped her in a jacket, and lifted her with the tenderness of someone who truly cared. Henry's hands shook as he reached for the door handle. He'd been paralyzed by that phone call, lost in his own fear and despair, while his daughter had wandered into danger. What kind of father did that make him? The kind his ex-wife's lawyers would crucify in court tomorrow. But this stranger, this grocery store clerk, had done what he should have done. She'd put Isabella first, without question, without knowing anything about them. Mia carried Isabella through the automatic doors into the bright warmth of the store. Several customers looked their way, some with curiosity, others with the mild annoyance of people whose shopping routines had been interrupted. Mia ignored them all. "Let's get you dried off," she said, heading toward the customer service counter. She grabbed a handful of paper towels from the dispenser and began gently patting Isabella's face and hair. "Your daddy must be very worried about you." He was talking on the phone, Isabella said quietly. He sounded sad, really, really sad. So I wanted to surprise him by getting his favorite cookies. But then I couldn't remember which car was ours, and they all looked the same in the rain. Mia's heart ached. She recognized that tone, the way children tried to fix their parents. Sadness, often putting themselves in harm's way in the process. That was very thoughtful of you. But next time you should ask Daddy to come with you, okay? Okay? Isabella's bottom lip trembled. Is he going to be mad at me, Bo, honey? No. He's probably just scared, because he loves you so much. Mia smoothed the child's damp curls, remembering her own childhood fears. The way her mother had tried to shield her from her father's anger. Before he'd left them both behind. The automatic. Doors whooshed open, and Mia looked up to see a man in an expensive dark suit striding toward them. His hair was slightly gray at the temples, his face lined with worry and something deeper, sadder. This had to be Isabella's father, Isabella. Henry's voice cracked with relief as he rushed to the counter. Thank God you're safe. I'm so sorry, baby. Daddy's so sorry, Daddy. Isabella reached for him, and Henry gathered her into his arms, holding her as if he might never let go again. Mia stepped back, giving them space, but Henry's eyes found hers over his daughter's head. Thank you, he said, and the words carried a weight that spoke of more than just gratitude for finding a lost child. I don't know how to repay you for this, no need, Mia said softly. I'm just glad she's safe. But Henry wasn't finished. He set Isabella down gently, keeping one hand on her shoulder. I'm Henry Richardson, and I need you to know that what you did today, taking care of my daughter when I failed too, it means more than you could possibly understand. There was something broken in his voice, a pain that Mia recognized. She'd heard it in her own mother's voice during those dark months after her father left. Sometimes we all need someone to step in, she said simply. Sometimes we all need help. Henry's eyes filled. With tears he quickly blinked away. This young woman, this grocery store clerk whose name tag said Mia, had just shown his daughter more kindness and protection in 10 minutes than he'd managed in the last hour. Tomorrow, lawyers would argue about his fitness as a father, but today he'd learned something profound about what it truly meant to care for a child. Mia, he said, testing her name, would you believe me if I told you that you might have just saved more than my daughter's life? Today, Mia tilted her head, puzzled. I don't understand. Henry glanced down at Isabella, who was still clutching her soggy stuffed rabbit and looking between the two adults with wide, curious eyes. How could he explain that in 30 minutes, he had to meet with his lawyer to prepare for a custody battle that could take away the most precious thing in his world? How could he tell her that watching her care for Isabella had reminded him what real love looked like? I've been fighting for the right to keep Isabella with me, he said quietly. Her mother and I are divorced, and tomorrow there's a hearing. That could change everything. I've been so focused on what I might lose that I forgot to focus on what I have right here, right now. Mia's expression softened with understanding. Divorce is hard on everyone, especially the children. I lost my job 6 months ago, Henry continued, the words coming easier now. Made some poor choices trying to keep up appearances, Isabella's mother has resources I don't have, lawyers who make me sound like a failure as a father. And sitting in that car today, getting news that made everything seem hopeless. I almost proved them right. But you didn't, Mia said firmly. You came, looking for her the moment you realized she was gone. That's what matters. Henry shook his head. You came looking for her. You protected her when I wasn't there to do it myself. Isabella tugged on her father's suit jacket. Daddy, why are you sad again? Mia fixed everything. She gave me her coat and made me warm. Henry knelt down to Isabella's level, just as Mia had done in the rain. You're right, sweetheart. Mia did fix things. She reminded Daddy of something very important. What Isabella asked. That love isn't about having the biggest house or the fanciest car or the most money. Love is about showing up when someone needs you. Love is about putting a jacket around someone who's cold and scared, even when it means you get wet too. Mia felt tears prick her own eyes. She'd grown up believing that love was fragile, that it could disappear without warning, that trusting people only led to disappointment. But watching this father and daughter together, seeing the fierce devotion in Henry's eyes despite his obvious struggles, made her wonder if she'd been wrong about some things. "Isabella," Henry said, "I want you to remember Mia always, okay? Remember that there are people in this world who will help you. Just because it's the right thing to do, I will, Daddy. Can we see Mia again sometime?" Henry looked up at Mia, hope and uncertainty warring in his expression. "I'd like that very much. If Mia would like to see us again too." Mia found herself nodding before she'd fully thought it through. "I'd like that," she said, and meant it more than she'd expected. As Henry prepared to leave with Isabella, he turned back one more time. "You know, I was a different person an hour ago, sitting in that car. I was ready to give up, to accept that. Maybe everyone was right about me being an unfit father. But watching you with Isabella, seeing how naturally you cared for her, it reminded me that being a good parent isn't about what you have. It's about who you are when someone needs you most, and who you become because of them," Mia added softly, surprising herself with the insight. Henry smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. Exactly 3 weeks later, Mia was restocking the produce section when she heard a familiar voice call her name. She turned to see Isabella running toward her, arms outstretched, with Henry following close behind. But something was different about him today. The worry lines around his eyes had eased, and he carried himself with a confidence that hadn't been there before. "Mia, guess what?" Isabella threw her arms around Mia's waist. "Daddy won. The judge said I get to stay with Daddy." Mia looked questioningly at Henry, who nodded with a smile that transformed his entire face. "The custody hearing went better than I ever dared hope, and I have a new job, something I actually love doing. I'm going to be teaching business classes at the community college." "That's wonderful," Mia said, genuinely happy for them both. "What changed?" Henry's expression grew serious. "You did. What you showed me that day, about what real care looks like. It changed how I approached everything. Instead of trying to prove I could provide for Isabella in ways that competed with her mother's wealth, I focused on showing the court who I really am when it matters most." "And what's that?" Mia asked. "Someone who puts love first. Someone who shows up. Someone who learned from a grocery store clerk that the most important things in life can't be bought, only given freely." Isabella tugged on Mia's red polo shirt. "Daddy says you're our angel. Are you really an angel?" Mia laughed, a sound lighter than any she'd made in years. "No, sweetheart. I'm just someone who cares about you and your daddy. That's exactly what an angel is," Henry said quietly. As the months passed, Mia found herself looking forward to Henry and Isabella's visits to the store. What had started as chance encounters became regular weekly trips, and eventually dinner invitations and weekend outings. Mia discovered that Isabella had a gift for asking profound questions, and that Henry had a way of listening that made her feel heard in ways she'd never experienced before. One evening, as they sat on a park bench watching Isabella play on the swings, Henry turned to Mia with that same serious expression she'd seen the day they met. "I need to tell you something," he said. "That day in the parking lot, when you found Isabella, I was ready to give up on everything, not just the custody battle, but on believing that I could be the father she deserved. You didn't just save her from getting lost in the rain. You saved us both from something much worse." Mia was quiet for a moment, watching Isabella's blonde curls flying as she swung higher and higher. "I think you saved me too," she finally said. "I'd spent so many years protecting myself from caring too much, from risking disappointment. But loving you both has taught me that some risks are worth taking." Henry reached for her hand. "I love you, Mia Sullivan, not just for what you did for Isabella, but for who you are, for the way you see the world, the way you see the best in people even when they can't see it in themselves. I love you too," Mia said, the words coming as naturally as breathing. "Both of you." Isabella ran over, breathless and grinning. "Are you to being mushy again?" "Maybe a little," Henry admitted, pulling Isabella onto his lap. "Good," Isabella said matter-of-factly. "Mushy is nice. It means we're a family now, right?" Mia felt tears prick her eyes again, but these were different from the ones she'd shed that rainy day in the parking lot. These were tears of joy, of belonging, of finding home in the most unexpected place. Yes, she said, wrapping her arms around both Henry and Isabella. We're family now. That night, as Mia tucked Isabella into bed in what had become their shared home, the little girl looked up at her with serious blue eyes. Mia, she said, do you remember that day when you found me? In the rain? Of course I do, sweetheart. I wasn't really lost, Isabella said quietly. I knew Daddy was in the black car. I just wanted someone to help him not be so sad anymore. And then you came, and you helped both of us. Mia stared at the child in amazement. Isabella, are you telling me you got out of the car on purpose? Isabella nodded solemnly. Sometimes grown-ups need help asking for help. Daddy taught me that. He said that's what angels do. They help people find what they didn't even know they were looking for. As Mia turned off the light and quietly closed Isabella's bedroom door, she realized that a 4-year-old had just taught her the most profound lesson of all. Sometimes the people we think we're rescuing are actually rescuing us. Sometimes getting lost is the only way to find what we truly need. And sometimes, love arrives not with grand gestures or perfect timing, but in the simple act of caring for someone who needs us, even when we don't know we need them just as much. The rain that had seemed so threatening that day had washed away more than just the dust from the parking lot. It had washed away fear, loneliness, and the walls they'd all built around their hearts. In its place, it had left something infinitely more precious, a family born not from blood or law, but from the simple recognition that some people are meant to find each other, no matter how lost they might seem along the way.